The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
The countdown is a day until Sweden? Sweden?
Tomorrow night.
Wow. And producer Drew's in here too, because you guys are going to be stapled together for the next week.
Isn't that great?
It's going to be great.
Isn't that great, man?
Wait, now, let me ask you too.
He's
Let me
happy.
ask you, who stays out later? You or Drew?
Probably me.
Probably you?
Well, no, I'll probably be like, here, Drew, edit some shit, and then
What are the plans? Like, what do you guys got planned so far?
well, we got credentials for all 4 games. So the 2 Leaf games.
Hey, hold on.
What?
Jesse, ask him to repeat that again.
What are the plans for Sweden?
We got credentials for all 4 games. Oh, credentials!
We got credentials! Come on!
The first time we've been credentialed.
Jesse, how many times have you applied for credentials?
I think it was 3 times we've been rejected.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, the 4th time's the charm.
Yeah!
Hooray!
It's real now.
Yeah, all we had to do was
Leave.
offer to fly across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they don't pay for it. You go yourself.
3-hour layover at Heathrow. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Heathrow's chaotic, but I love it. Love Heathrow.
Yes, I hear the bacon sandwiches in the lounge are very good.
Okay,
I'm gonna
check
have to
them
try
out.
to get one.
Are you going to plan some sort of meetup for the Swedish listeners? Because we've getting some comments and feedback and some emails about people in Europe wanting to meet you, Steve Dangle.
That's what we're trying to figure out, because we also want to use the credentials that we've finally been given. I think at minimum, if you're going to the games, I'll see you at the games.
There you go.
I don't know what we'll have beyond that. But yeah, it looks like I'm going to be there. SDPN, did we pack the SDPN mic flash? We got a mic flash. We're so cool right now. So legit.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited.
That's great.
And I'm starting to get a picture of what it's going to look like. Because, it's not just Swedes. Right? It's not just going to be locals. I think some people are traveling from North America for these games, just for the experience. I've gotten a bunch of messages from people traveling from the UK because it's just a hop, skip, and a jump. So I'm excited.
Great.
I'm excited to see what Sweden has in store for me.
Now, a quick thing on Friday, Easter Seals, $75,000 raised by you. By you, the SDP listener. I'm a little off. I guess I got to move in a little bit. Here we go. Ha! There we go. I'm back. The outpouring of money given the economy is crazy. And the one stat that blew me away is this is the most ever donators we've ever had.
Yes. I don't have the final number in front of me, but I'm going to say 1,000.
1,679 donations, individual donations to our team.
Wow.
Are you serious?
1,679 individual donations.
Holy shit!
Crazy.
Wow.
That roughly averages out to about, what is it, 1,000, huh? I wonder how, it's like $75 a person.
I don't know, man.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That's an incredible amount.
And so for the 4th year in a row, you've won fundraising champ?
3.
No, 3. We lost one of the, I think it was the COVID year.
Yeah. But we got, that's the Chicago Bulls. We 3-peat.
That's pretty exactly.
Sick.
Yo, we're coming back though. There's no...
we're going to take a year off. We're going to go gamble a lot and play baseball. We should have a baseball tournament next year if we want to truly be MJ. And then we come back and then we 3-peat.
Yeah, no, Lindros wore out the knees in his pants begging me to come back, and I said, no, I got to play baseball.
Who's going to be our Jerry Krause who wears their pants up around their
Ian Tulloch.
Ian Tulloch. Yeah, there's the answer.
Jerry Krause.
There's the answer. Ian Tulloch, by the way, who scored a goal and celebrated so big because he did not expect to score the goal that the other team was like, what the fuck's his problem?
Yeah. It's a charity tournament, bro.
Then we lined up for the face-off after the goal, and the dude next to me was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Might be the most entertaining person to play hockey with because he'll get off the ice and then tell you how he did in his stats. It's amazing.
He skates like a PK Subban workout video.
Yeah. Well, he's got the Coolaman. Chop, 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 chop. Yeah. But could not be a happier human being. And it was a lot of fun. The tournament was great. Yes, we did win both games.
Yeah.
All thanks to our goaltender.
Yeah. our goaltender Jeremy Pearl. You can't get past the pearly gates. Welcome to hell. That's what I kept yelling from the bench. Came up with that on the spot.
My favorite moment in any of the games was when Adam Wild in a charity tournament got to the red line, dumped the puck, and went for a change. Something that never happened in any of the games outside of Adam dumping the puck in.
No, he wasn't?
No!
He was like,
Adam, nothing's on the line here.
I was trying to protect the lead. This was a good team. And I don't care. You know the other thing.
Who dumps the puck in a charity tournament?
I was exhausted.
Dump and change, guys.
My puffers. Man, there's a couple things that happened in the tournament that I got to tell you about. So the first one is one of the guys on our team took an awkward edge, and he was going flying at the net.
Oh,
and he
my
missed,
God.
And he hit the boards. But thankfully, he hit it with his hands first, but his head didn't have
he smacked his head.
That was Daniel Schiffer. Some of you might know him if you watch his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Very
guy.
popular YouTuber.
And
he was a Band-Aid.
And he
unfortunately.
So he's like on the ground or whatever, and then John LeClaire and everybody, we all kind of gather around, and John's like, who's the team's captain? And I'm like, does he need the team's captain? So I said, Steve is. And he's like, you fucking idiot.
And we're all like, Adam, he's testing to see if he can remember. He's not asking you a question. Shut up.
And I skated onto the ice to make sure he was okay. I'm like, Adam, I heard you did great on the questionnaire.
Yeah, you know, listen, I'm just with it. Just sharp. The other thing was, I'm standing on the bench, so I was with Sean Fitzgerald, who is, just the best guy. And he looked at me before the tournament. He's like, we've played defense together before. We're doing it again today. And I said, okay. And I'm like, if you want to be stuck with me, go ahead. That's great. And so he and I are standing on the bench, and the ref comes up, and he's like, linesmen don't do shit, huh? And I was like, and I said,
funny.
only NHL linesman. And he's like, yeah, sure. I fucking heard that. I've been waiting 3 weeks to give you shit for this. So yeah, it was great. Really, really fun tournament. Lots of fun and a lot of money raised, which is amazing. And Steve, you have something you want to read because this has to do with the Mitch Marner signed jersey that you're giving away.
Yes. So I've given dues to the man who donated Leafs tickets for the fundraising raffle, which worked, by the way. Thank you, Ronald. Ronald Fox was their name. And I keep saying, yeah, I'm going to shout out the person who donated the Mitch Marner jersey as well, followed by me forgetting every single time. This is the letter you sent. It's from William Booth, sent the signed Mitch Marner jersey for the raffle. He is from, wait for it, Hatchet Lake, Nova Scotia.
Woo.
So
wow.
Anyone listening from Hatchet Lake, Nova Scotia. But I'm not going to read the whole thing because he sent me like pages and pages to read. I have read it, William. But he attached a photocopy of his ticket stub from the first hockey game he ever went to, or first Leafs game he ever went to. Mm-hmm. It was 1980, Leafs Canucks.
Oh, cool.
Just like what we went to on Saturday.
Very cool.
Sittler scored a hat trick, but the Leafs lost 8-5. So the tradition of the Leafs losing games where their best player gets a hat trick has been going on for a long time. October 26, 1980, how much was one adult ticket?
I'm going to say $12.50.
So, and sorry, this is at Pacific Coliseum.
So Vancouver.
Yes.
$12.50.
In Vancouver, one ticket, $2.50.
Adam is 50 cents off.
Wow.
$13.
Wow.
Nice.
You know, the only reason I know that is because I was watching a movie once, and there's a guy who's like, yeah, you want Van Halen tickets? And this is from that time. And it's like, yeah, it's like $10. I was like, what the fuck?
I know.
$10? So that's
thank
why.
you. Thank you, William.
There you go. Jesse.
Yes.
What did you think of Steve's first in-play goal?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I scored sort of.
it was an empty netter.
In a
But
charity tournament.
it was in play. He scored on a penalty shot in a previous tournament.
Yeah.
But this goal was in play.
Steve got spooked a couple times because the other team pulled the net, pulled their goalie, and we were on the offensive zone, and it was 6-on-5, obviously, and it turned out to be 6-on-4 because Steve, as directed by the bench, hung out at the red line. So as soon as we at the center ice line, so as soon as we got the puck, we just feed Steve in the middle of the ice, and he can go and get his empty net goal. And the first time they tried that, Steve's feet kind of moved and his body didn't really go anywhere.
No, John LeClaire might end up in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he could not get me a goal. He tried so hard.
Oh yeah.
He's like, here, I'm gonna go up and I'll drop it to you. And like I had like a couple like legitimate chances.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, like I'm gonna put it off the goalie and like you get a rebound. And then it was, all right, go stand next to the goalpost, I'll put one off you. And then like it wasn't like the alumni are there to be encouraging and like give you a cool experience. And I think my fifth or sixth missed opportunity, I get back to the bench. Leclerc's like, what the fuck was that? You had an open net.
Yeah. So that was the lead up to the eventual moment in the final game where you got your empty netter after finally getting the puck at center ice and nobody was around you and you skated and you scored.
I said to Steve after the game, Jess, I was like, you scored it. He's like, yeah, it's an empty netter though. I'm like, any of the goals you would have scored would have been an empty net. Like they had set it up so beautifully.
There was one timer where it was
I know.
Steve, that's bad. Like you should have just tapped it into the net.
Just put your stick down. Put your stick down.
There was a couple of those.
I had a couple of those moments too.
That wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Shout out Jeremy Ridley getting the assist on my empty netter.
Now, some of us got to go to the Leafs game.
Let's not forget you and I.
Oh yes, let's forget this.
So I encouraged everybody to eat the rich on the last week because Adam Wild was getting a whole bunch of donations, but it was not from a great volume of people. It was from a small amount of people. So that means all of the rich folk, all of the fellow billionaires were donating to Adam Wild's page. And I had all of us regular people donating to my page. And I ended up $1,000 ahead of you until you got one of your billionaire friends to do what?
Yes. Her name is Haley Head, and she donated $919.07, which put me less than about 80 cents up on Jesse, and I beat him by 80 cents. So I did
Unbelievable.
not accomplish my goal of beating Steve, but I beat Jesse by less than $1.
Because of what?
Haley Head with $919.
No, because you're rich.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it too. Also because I'm rich. Haley, thank you for the donation, by the way. That's
Jesse,
an amazing
unbelievable.
donation.
Why don't you care as much about the kids as Adam?
I have more people caring about the kids than Adam does.
Well,
Adam's got Bezos donating to his page.
That's right.
would have
Listen,
showed up in the numbers, you'd think.
corporate sponsorships. That's where it's at. Listen, you guys are selling seats. I'm selling boxes. Okay.
It's true. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now, something that Jesse has noticed, and he's mentioned this in the Jesse Blake Sports Report, we have to talk about next. Because this is the key, especially if you're going Leafs with your bets. Let's get into it with BetMGM. Here's a crazy thing. Now, we'll talk about the Leafs game coming up. But I'm going to blow your mind. The Leafs went down, got behind in their game on Saturday night.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crazy that the team that I think is bottom 5 in minutes led in the league went down. But one thing that you can always count on, Jesse Blake, is what?
That the Leafs will come back and at least make it close.
Okay. Now, you have been suggesting people, if you want to have some fun, bet this way.
Yeah.
Because you can bet live and play with BetMGM, and what you've been getting tweets about people winning because of it.
Yeah, one thing I've encouraged for it's been about a season and a half now. I've been saying you should do this. Whenever the Leafs get down, you'll see on BetMGM that you'll get odds for plus 2.5 goals, meaning that the Leafs get plus 2.5 goals on their total at the end of the game, or they'll get plus 1.5 goals. I like the 2.5 because it's easier. I feel like it covers the empty netter just in case the other team gets it and they're within that. But usually 1.5 works too. If Leafs get down, go on live betting on BetMGM and check and get plus 1.5 goals.
So they don't even necessarily have to win.
No, they just need to get within a goal. If they're within a goal by the end of the game, then that plus 1.5 will hit.
And
if
knowing
they're
the
within
Leafs,
2 goals, then it's plus 2.5.
A, not only can they do it because they can. B, there's certain games where they don't turn it on until the last 2 minutes, and that's when they're within a goal. It's pretty wild, actually, when you kind of think about it. It made me surprised. Well, again, we'll talk about it more during our Leafs Canucks segment, that the Canucks didn't pull the goalie
Punted.
They just punted on the game.
It was really actually strange to watch.
Because the Leafs absolutely would have pulled the goalie with like 5 minutes to go and try, because why not? And the Canucks have the firepower to do it.
I'm sitting there as a Leaf fan, like, don't you know who you're playing? Try. Like, it might work. Like,
what do you got there,
what are
Jess?
you doing?
I want to shout out a couple of people who took the bet and cashed on it the last time the Leafs went down and came back. Shout out Icing Hockey, who said, it's brutal as a Leafs fan, as a betting enthusiast, it's kind of fun. Nathan, who said, I live bet the Leafs after the first period, got plus 2.5. I'll be doing that more moving ahead. Traveling said, for sure, took the plus 3.5. Did Jesse Blake make the sure thing comeback bet? That's multi-planetary. And Captain Canada said, I remember you said on Friday's podcast, knew I had to jump on it. And there's a screenshot of
let me ask you this.
Taking plus 2.5.
What if it works one way, does it then work the other? Because the Leafs, when they're up, tend to give up leads. Would you also recommend going, listen, if you're a bit of an enthusiast, you could, and you're playing the Leafs, bet the comeback.
So this is how Steve bets. So you wouldn't
No!
you wouldn't bet. No. Let me explain. Because that would mean you're betting on the other team, right?
Yes, which I would never.
Exactly. So I'm a big fan of, hey, you're not really betting for like the smart thing. You're betting to have fun. So just don't bet against the team that you like.
There you go.
If you don't want to do that. Because then you're sitting there and you're like, I'm hedging because I want my team to win, but I bet on the other team. And I don't really, If you're betting for fun, just like only root for the Leafs, only bet for them.
I could never. Luckily, like they never put themselves in a position where like that's a factor.
Yeah.
Like they'll never go up big. I don't know. They're protected by the wave. Also,
They are, absolutely. Okay, so for all the best odds, including live in play, check out BetMGM. Jesse, I want to keep track of this. Okay,
Yeah.
So Leafs are in Sweden. We were not going to get much in the way of games this week. I want the Swedish comeback stories next Monday. All right,
Get down, take those live bets.
All right. So listen, we could talk about the Leafs game. We could talk about Sweden. We could talk about all these things.
I looked up comeback in Swedish.
All right, play it.
Kom tillbaka.
Can you
Yeah, play it.
the Google part?
Here, let me. There you go. Nice and loud.
Kom tillbaka.
Kom tillbaka.
Okay.
I hope that's what it means. And it's not something crude because I typed it wrong. Pretty sure that's comeback.
Right now, we got a problem.
Yeah?
We got a problem in Edmonton.
What's that?
We got an Edmonton Oilers team that is 3-9-1. That's good enough for 31st in the league.
Oof.
Their goals allowed per game, 2.69, which is 26th in the league. That's the best stat of the bunch that I'm about to give you. As in, like,
Wait,
that's their
they've
highest
only
stat.
allowed
2.69.
all the goals they've scored.
Oh, yeah, sorry, goals 4. Excuse me.
I was like, wait,
yeah.
no.
Goals allowed's the next
They'd
one.
be close to first place.
Goals allowed, the next one is 3.29. That's the average amount of goals they allow. They're 30th in the league for that. Their goal differential is negative 16, which is 31st.
Yikes.
Only the Sharks, who had 20 goals scored on them in 2 games, could beat that. Their save percentage is an 8.64, 32nd in the league, and their penalty kill is at 70%, 30th in the league. The last stat that will blow your mind the most is Connor McDavid is on pace for 73 points right now.
It's crazy. That's a down season. Did you watch
What's half of what it was last year?
I know. Did you watch the Oilers Sharks game?
I was with you. Oh, the Oilers Sharks game. Yes.
Yeah.
I would watch pieces.
I was
of it.
like, wait, you were? No.
Yeah,
One thing with those stats, how does it make you feel knowing that the Leafs have allowed more goals than the Edmonton Oilers?
I believe it.
Listen, it's not like the Leafs have had a great start.
Yeah.
They had a good game on Saturday, but it hasn't been a great start.
Well, the Leafs are doing what the Oilers usually do, which is scoring their way out of their problems, which, is not the greatest or sustainable, but it's at very least a way to get you through the early part of the season. Oilers haven't even been doing that, right? Like, we were talking about the goaltending being their biggest problem, and then like defense is their biggest problem, but it feels like the Oilers have identified it as well. McDavid's production's been cut in half. So it seems like they've prioritized Connor McDavid with their coaching change.
Right.
I don't think Woodcroft was the problem, but...
So Connor McDavid, the connections to Connor McDavid now are The CEO and president, Jeff Jackson, Connor's agent as of 3-4 months ago. The big UFA get, Connor Brown, who is a game away from a $3 million bonus, which will eat into their cap for next year. That was his line mate in junior. And then now the new head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, Kris Knoblauch, that was his junior head coach as well.
CJ Show group chat brought this stat up. I think it was Julian McKenzie. McDavid never led the Erie Otters in scoring. That blew my mind. Huh? It was Connor Brown.
It's Connor Brown. That's pretty wild, isn't it?
That's crazy.
So this happened after a win. And it was interesting because in the press conference, Ken Holland and Jeff Jackson talked about some things that they were aligned on. We'll get to the stuff that they weren't aligned on. I just sent Jesse a quick link here. But the thing that they were aligned on, at least if they were lying about it, is around the second period, they started discussing maybe they needed to make a change. It takes a few days because they had to get Knoblauch in from Hartford, get the contract done, that sort of thing. It's funny, right? Players and teams go in entire years and they can't figure out a contract extension. But when a team needs a coach, they can sure do it overnight.
What is it? Deadlines clear the mind?
Yes, that's the Alan Walsh quote. So, Jesse, I'm hoping that you'll fast forward to 17:27 of the introductory press conference for Kris Knoblauch. And with apologies to Mr. Knoblauch, he is not the focus. What the focus here really should be is a changing of power yet again in Edmonton. Kris Knoblauch is the 18th head coach in Oilers history. He is the 10th in the last 13 years.
Wow.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has had 10 coaches.
That's unbelievable.
That's a lot of coaches.
Could I name them all? I don't know if I could.
I think you get 7 or 8 of them.
Drew's like, don't. Don't do it.
It's boring.
Don't even try.
So this to me speaks that management's not on the same page and that there is a shifting dynamic. Ken Holland, when he was brought in, he was given the keys. He was the king. Yeah. Ken Holland is not the king anymore, and you're going to see it with this clip from the press conference yesterday.
Sports Talk, Tom Gazzola. For Jeff or Kenny, obviously a decision like this comes with a lot of deliberation. You guys have to meet and discuss. Does the players' leadership group come into the conversation? Were they brought in to discuss potential options for this team moving forward? Is that something that you guys bring into consideration or have done before?
I'll let, because I have talked over this past week with some of the veterans on our team. I'm not going to tell you what they said. I take the information. Ultimately, I have to make decisions. Obviously, Jeff's got a long relationship with Connor. You can probably talk about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't consult with the players on this decision. Never spoke with Connor or Leon or Nuge or Nursey or any of the other leadership group. These guys are here to play hockey. That they know that's what they want to do. They don't like being involved in these types of decisions. That's my experience. So the fact that Kris was Connor's coach in Erie in 2014-15, it only has something to do with this because I think Kris Knoblauch's a very good coach. Connor didn't have anything to do with this decision, and neither did the other leadership group.
Just one more.
I didn't grind my feet into Eddie's couch. Come on, I got a little bit more sense than that. Yeah, I remember grinding my feet in that man's couch.
Yeah, so already, I mean, you would think that they'd be ready for a conversation like that. Mm-hmm. The Connor McDavid, you can truly call them the Connor McDavid Edmonton Oilers. Because they are.
I saw some people talk about the LeBron treatment with McDavid, and people were very quick to point out, well, yes, but LeBron has succeeded. Like, they've given him a lot of power within his team.
Because he's won.
He succeeded with the power.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think this is Connor doing this. I think they're trying to appease him by bringing in as many people to make him happy as possible.
Right. Yeah. And there's two things going on there. One is that we need to rethink the way what a general manager does and what a president does, because the old way we thought of GMs, now that's the president role. When Jeff Jackson was brought in as president of hockey operations and CEO of the Edmonton Oilers, he is now de facto overseer of big decisions. Same way Brendan Shanahan controlled the big decisions in Toronto that Dubas was making. The president is now doing those things. The GM is now doing the day-to-day tasks.
Yeah, we're seeing GMs lose power.
Yeah, it's the power just shifting to the president role. They're now in control of everything. So that's why Jeff Jackson gets to make the head coaching decision. He brought in the guy that he's loved for decades now in Kris Knoblauch. And the other thing is Ken Holland's sitting there, but he's not going to be sitting there for very long because his contract is up at the end of the year.
Yeah,
he's just sitting there for the sake of being around guys and having fun. He's playing out the season. I was like, okay, he probably should have been fired, but then you think about it a little. No, he's just going to be fired in June, and he's not even going to be fired. He's just going to be let go because his contract's over. So Ken Holland isn't in any of this. Like he's not making any decisions. He's transitioning to the next phase of whenever Jeff Jackson wants to bring in his guy now to be the day-to-day operator when he's GM and president.
Now, lost in that changing of the guard, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Is that Paul Coffey, who's never been behind an NHL bench. Neither is Kris Knoblauch, by the way.
He's replaced he coached the Rangers during the COVID season.
Oh, okay.
When their coach was out, I think with COVID or something like that. So he did like 3 games.
Okay, fair. No,
Yeah.
that's behind the bench. Then.
Yeah, so it's like technically.
I think I can be forgiven for not knowing that, though.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
That's okay.
Oh, you don't fucking know?
That's okay.
Hey, stupid.
But all the same, Paul Coffey, who's never expressed an interest in being a coach, never been a coach, never been an assistant coach, is now the assistant coach. Now he's Paul Coffey. He is a all-star caliber defenseman most of his career. I think he leads all defensemen in scoring ever. I would listen to the guy.
I think that's Ray Bork.
Oh, is it Ray Bork? Okay, then Paul would be like in the top 5.
He's very high up.
And the thing about it is that he holds a dual role. He isn't just the assistant coach now because he had a role before and he's maintaining that role. And that role is special advisor to Daryl Cates.
Well,
To the owner
of the team. I think, it could make some sense having Paul Coffey on the Oilers bench. Hey, you guys know how to move the puck, but you can't defend for shit. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my career. And they were able to win.
Yeah.
That was it's funny. How we kind of retcon a legend's career at the very end of it, or just looking back on it, we only look back on their accolades. Like Paul Coffey was constantly criticized during his playing days. You go back and look at any newspaper article, they're talking about him, friggin' yeah, he can put up the points, but can he lock a game down when they need him to? Bouchard needs someone to right the ship there. Nurse needs someone to right the ship. And that's just those two. I point out the Edmonton Oilers defensemen having really good seasons. It's not a ton of them.
I don't think anybody's having a lot of fun in Edmonton, and I want to point you towards this picture on NHL.com this morning. This is the picture that's making the headlines. Does that look like a happy group to you?
Ken Holland. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not responsible for any of this. He gets to go retire after.
And Chris
this
is
season.
pumped. Paul Coffey looks like he's in a mafia movie.
Yeah.
And Jeff Jackson looks like I hate all of this. I can't wait.
But Adam,
he looks like Severus Snape in staff
yes,
photos.
yeah.
Adam, you mentioning the owner thing is such a good point because they act like we can't just put 2 and 2 together. It's like, okay, Steve, you and I sit there every day and you're the owner of the Edmonton Oilers and I'm your right-hand man and I sit there every day and I say, what's wrong with these guys? I could go down there and fix this and blah, blah, blah. And we're old men and we're talking and you have the power to go put me in a position to go talk to the players and fix it.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it?
Well,
when things are going to shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're going to send down Coffey to go to the bench and go fix the guys. That's
wake up and smell the coffee.
That's kind of what happened here.
Whoa. Hey.
Dave Manson is unfortunately a casualty in this situation because the owner and his right-hand man sat there and they said, you know what, put Paul Coffey down there and you can go fix these guys. It's a shame.
Ironically, the Oilers could use a defenseman who played like Dave Manson. Not saying Manson was better than Coffey, but we all know they can put up points. No one's denying that they can put up points. It's the ability to lock it down. First of all, I just wanted to say Kris Knoblauch was the assistant coach of the Flyers for a couple seasons. So he has experience with teams wearing orange. But when I saw that photo, I thought it was Jeff Jackson trying to not look too happy on account of, yes, they hired Knoblauch, but like he just gassed a guy.
Two people lost their jobs.
Two people lost their jobs, and neither of them deserved it. Like, Jay Woodcroft's got one of the highest winning percentages in Oilers history. It's the.
Yeah.
He's got the highest winning percentage in Oilers history. That's a team that's won 5 cups. And none of us had him on the hot seat at the beginning of the season. And he was the first coach fired.
No. You would have had him on the hot seat for the Jack Adams.
Like,
you know, you would expect, that's an early favorite. Why not?
This is a coach getting fired because the team was out of ideas. Like, they called up Calvin Pickard. Why? So that they could send down Jack Campbell and try someone else. Just try someone else. Pickard hasn't played a game. There's been reports that they've been looking to make a trade. We're going to try to get this guy,
Not out
that
there.
guy. And
Just not out there. Trade's not out there.
It's not out there. Like, it's never been out there for Ken Holland. It's always, I tried to get something done. I couldn't get it done. So you're not going to try the new goalie. You're not going to make a move. I guess I'll gas.
I got a third one for you before you move on to the he getting gassed. He couldn't bench anybody. Ken Holland, during that press conference, one of the questions, they talked about the salary cap, and he said, I made the team and the salary cap too tight so that Woodcroft didn't have any ability to bench anybody. So throw in, like, you can't even try that. You can't even sit Evander Kane for any amount of time, or Bouchard or Nurse or anybody, because Ken Holland screwed up the salary cap.
To be fair,
and then he got fired.
To be fair to him, though, guys, the salary cap's pretty new. Right? Like, he's just learning this, right?
Like, dude, Jay Woodcroft got fired for not being able to turn water into wine. And he should get a new job in no time.
I want to talk to you guys about this, too. Because, Jesse, you bring up the cap. Why are the Oilers so close to the cap? Like, what
They signed
McDavid didn't take less.
What does... Yeah.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
What decisions have they made recently over the last couple summers, guys, that have led to this? Connor Brown.
Yes.
One of them.
They've brought in a number of players who
There's a guy on a
free.
5-year deal. Used to be a Leaf.
Jack Campbell, and
Right.
low-key, Darnell Nurse has one of the worst contracts in the NHL.
Yes, he does.
That's injury, so I'm willing to give him somewhat of a pass. But
According to Mark Spector, Ken Holland trusted Brad.
I don't read him.
Trusted Brad Holland. Brad Holland is the AGM in Edmonton, but he's based a lot of the time apparently in Toronto. Trusted his son on Jack Campbell, which is another big reason why we're here today. And here's the other thing. So Ken Holland gone. Brad Holland has worked throughout the game, not for his dad. So there's a little bit of that, right? I want to listen. I understand. I'm sensitive to the nepotism thing. Okay. So I want to give the man credit, but the Jack Campbell thing was a huge blunder. And then, who is the other AGM in Edmonton, guys? Right now, it's got a familiar ring to it.
Yeah, is it buddy who was in Columbus? Tambellini? No, not Tambellini. What's his name? Scott Housen?
Okay.
Who is it?
No, he's
I have no idea.
AHL now.
I have no
Scott
idea.
Housen's running the AHL.
Yeah.
No, it's a familiar name. It's Gretzky.
Oh, it's Keith Gretzky.
So the Ken Holland's
Wayne's on TV. What are you talking about?
Ken Holland's AGMs are Brad Holland and Keith Gretzky. And so, so here's the problem that they have. Connor McDavid is not the problem. Connor McDavid, I mean, well, he might be the problem. He might be finally starting to say, I'm sick of this shit. Yes, I am taking over, but trust me, I know better than these idiots. And you know what? He might have a point. The guy they need to watch is Leon Draisaitl, because I don't think if Leon is not back, because that they could start talking extension as of July 1st, I believe.
He's got a little bit of that, Malkin.
If Leon is not back, is Connor back? Doesn't matter how happy they make the organization for him. If the organization doesn't win, then why would he stay? And so as that, I say that in the context of Connor McDavid. Same for Leon Draisaitl. You know what makes players happy? Winning.
Yes, literally just winning.
I
haven't heard a ton.
Did the 80s Oilers complain about the winter?
No,
or the taxes?
Even doing something a little bit, or the taxes is pretty good. Even something a little bit more recent. When was the last time you heard a Connor Garland trade rumor? Well, it's because the Canucks are
They're
near
good.
the top of the standings. So I don't know. Put it on hold. Let it ride. Let's have some fun. Win.
Right.
Win. They just need to win. We hear
Jesse's
flames.
smile on his face. What?
No,
Yeah.
no.
I thought you had something there.
We hear flame shit all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're losing.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, Jeff Jackson's in there now to remake the organization. That's why they hired him. It's to get rid of. Well, Ken Holland's gonna move on, and then he's gonna fire whoever he wants below him, bring in his own guys, because clearly what they've been doing for the last little bit hasn't been working. And I think we'll look back on the Bob Nicholson tenure as a little shaky if they end up where we think they might, and that they don't get it done with Leon and Connor McDavid. Right now, he's the special advisor and alternate governor of hockey operations.
He used to be the president.
But he used to be the Jeff Jackson role where he was making all these decisions. He's the one who brought in guys like Ken Holland.
We went through the Burger?
Yeah, remember he was the one. Bobby Nixberger. He used to be the one in the charge, and I wonder if we'll look back on his era of running the Edmonton Oilers, where he brings in too many ex-Oilers, and it's just a bunch of guys who were good in the '80s who now are in charge of the organization, and we'll see hey, maybe they kind of screwed up that regime, and Jeff Jackson's now the one to kind of fix it before it goes all south, and McDavid and Draisaitl won out.
I do know the Oilers organization trusts Paul Coffey pretty implicitly. I'm very.
You mean Daryl Cates does? And he is the organization?
To my understanding, Paul Coffey has done everything that's been asked of him. And I'll just leave it there. But I'm fascinated by this because we talked about putting McDavid in his happy place. You know what makes me happy? When I'm healthy. Mm-hmm. This player's not healthy. We know this. We've seen McDavid be perfectly miserable and score 3 points a game.
Mm-hmm. That's when he's in his happy place, though. He's scowling and scoring a bunch of goals.
Yeah, this player's not right. So,
but they can't afford to have him out.
But you had the winningest coach in team history when it comes to percentage. The best player in the National Hockey League, the best hockey player in the world, is not healthy. The goalies are not stopping pucks, and the defense on paper is catastrophic. I'm going to ask again why Jay Woodcroft lost his job. What did he do? What was he supposed to have done?
So let me ask you this. If I told you that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl combined for 2 goals in 10 games, how many wins would you give the Oilers?
0.
-0.
And that's what happened. They actually won a game in there, though.
Good for them.
They lost to the Sharks.
But they did win a game.
They lost
0.
Not only did they
one.
lose to the Sharks, so we were all. This happened the night of the draft party for the Lindros tournament, and we were all in a hotel room. It was 10 of us watching this game. And that's why I was tweeting, we're all sickos. We're all trash human beings for watching this game.
Best game of the year.
Oh, my God. We're all just watching out of morbid curiosity to see if the Oilers actually do this. They go down 3-1. It's not just that they lost. It's that they pulled out all the stops for the comeback effort and still weren't able to do it. They had 2 minutes of 6-on-4 against the San Jose Sharks. But guess what the Sharks have? Not a good hockey team. But guess what else they have? A goalie.
Occasionally.
Mackenzie
Blackwood is hot and cold.
Hot and cold. The Oilers would kill for hot and cold.
Yeah.
Hot and cold, Jay Woodcroft would still have a job.
Yeah, because it denotes that they were hot at some point.
Yes. Mackenzie Blackwood on the Oilers has that team in a playoff spot currently.
One thing I want to touch on, because you guys brought up McDavid, and I'm glad I don't have to be the one to say it, but I can quote a guy who said it first, so I don't have to outright say it. So I'm not culpable here. But McDavid is miserable when he's losing. Elliot Friedman said it on 32 Thoughts today. He's really, he hates losing so much that I think it's a little infectious on the team. When that's your leader, that's your captain, and you are just miserable all the time when you're losing. I think that's a problem for the Edmonton Oilers, and I hope that Kris Knoblauch can solve that issue with McDavid on a personal level, that you can't just be a giant suck when your team is sucking hard. I get it sucks to lose, and it's hard to be losing all the time, but when things don't go right, you can't be just down in the dumps all the time. That's who
You've seen
McDavid
the clips
is.
from when he was on the Otters?
He's always been like that.
Yeah. So what's
Guys,
Knoblauch's magic that he's supposed to do?
What did we give Bertuzzi shit for the other week? It's a little bit different, but all body language.
Having a bad attitude.
Yeah.
Body language matters, especially when it's the captain, especially when it's the best player in the league.
And what's Bertuzzi done? He's looked good. Like he's looked. You know what's funny?
He got called on it, and he's better.
I don't actually know if he's playing great hockey, but he looks like he's trying.
That's the point.
That's like, listen, that's the bare minimum. And like, I'm not saying McDavid's not trying. I think he's miserable because he's losing and he's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
This player is hurt.
He's outwardly miserable all the time, everywhere.
And
I think that's bad for your team. Like when they asked Leon Draisaitl, hey, why are you so pissy? He's not the only one.
Man.
Yeah, that comes from your captain.
Kris Knoblauch said in the press conference that they're wound too tight. He wants them to find the joy in hockey again. So in case you're doubting what Jesse's saying, they're saying it. The Oilers organization just said it.
I think enough people know it at this point.
You get the occasional wackos. I want to drive that point home.
You know what might wind
right.
a team too tight is when your coach, who hangs around you every day, knows he might get fired for no good reason.
Well, yeah. So Mark Spector did point out in his it seemed like sometimes it feels like a little bit of a there's some jabs in there, but he did say that Jay Woodcroft tried to control things a little too much. Like he wouldn't tell you who the starting goaltender was for the next preseason game, like as he was trying to play head games and stuff like that. To me, it's Jay Woodcroft has to own some of this. The defensive system you tried to institute did not work. And the problem was you stuck with it. It didn't work in training camp. They didn't get it. You played it for 5 games. They didn't get it. You let the Canucks fucking steamroll you the first 2 games of the year. What you should just do is go, listen, maybe we're just bad at defense. Let's switch it back. It's not fucking working. Score a bunch of goals, guys. Go.
But they can't.
Yeah.
The player is hurt. The best player in the world is hurt.
And yet, here's what's going to happen because it's hockey. They're going to win like the next 5 games.
Oh, I know.
They're going to the playoffs. And they have to play at, 106, 107 point pace to make it?
I would take that bet right now.
100%.
If I can bet that they don't make the playoffs, I'd take that.
You would take that bet?
Yeah.
Because
they're not making the playoffs.
What do they got to win? 40 of the next 60 or whatever.
I'll never count them out. The Edmonton Oilers in the NHL are an anomaly. If you're going by numbers with the Oilers, I think you're making a mistake. They have a actual wizard. Like Draisaitl is one of the better players in the world. McDavid is a wizard.
They have a wizard who's miserable and hurt.
He's miserable and hurt, so he's lost his powers. But you never know when they'll return.
He's just a muggle right now.
Yes, he's a squib.
Oh,
yes, but he'll get his powers back, and then all of a sudden it's fucking Havada, all that shit. Abracadabra. I know it's Havada Kedavra. I just didn't want to sound like that big of a nerd.
No, you gotta go right in. I don't know. I think they've dug such a hole. I would bet on them not making the playoffs.
By the way, fun fact, and I want to shout out Daniel Nugent-Bowman on his article for The Athletic for this. Paul Coffey was somebody Holland let go in a player development role shortly after he was hired in May 2019.
What?
Read that. Say that.
So Paul Coffey was a player development person
with the Oilers
until 2019 when Ken Holland was hired and then let him go.
When was he brought back?
Wait, what? Yeah, then.
Well, no, he always remained the special assistant to Daryl Cates. So throughout, that's been like a decade. Right? That part's been, remember we used to make fun of in 2015, 2016, how many ex-Oilers, like in the Todd McClellan years and when Craig McTavish was the GM, even when Chiarelli was there's so many ex-Oilers around, right? So when Holland came in, he wanted to get rid of all that or reduce that role. And one of the people he let go in that role was Paul Coffey.
But he stayed around the team and now he's...
So here's what he says. As for Coffey, he was somebody Holland let go in a player development role shortly after Holland was hired in May 2019. It wasn't long before owner Daryl Cates brought him back to be a special advisor. He's never stood behind a pro bench before and has never expressed an interest in doing so, something he reiterated on Sunday. He has Cates' eyes and ears, and he's now closer to the action than ever.
Oh, so Holland's a decoration, eh?
Oh, yeah.
That's a Christmas wreath back there.
And
Wow.
Coffey's there just to tell the owner what's actually happening on the ice.
And the thing is... Here's the problem that the Oilers have. You've got 2 factions. You've got the Holland faction who was brought in, big guns, we're going to change things. There's not going to be a bazillion ex-Oilers in the front office. And that probably went against the owner's judgment or better judgment in his purview. I think in Daryl Cates' mind, he wants to be surrounded by a bunch of ex-Oiler legends. And that's always been the case, and that's the way he wants the team. But the team wasn't winning, so he let Holland do it his way. Team still hasn't won, although they did get to an Eastern Conference final, and they got to a second round. A couple second rounds, I think, since then. And now he's going, you know what? This didn't work either, so I'm going back to my old ways. And that's what's happening. And the thing is that you would fire Holland normally in this situation. You would fire him because you're not re-signing him. You don't really care about his input, but you have no AGM to step in because you've got his son and Keith Gretzky, neither of whom are ready.
So now, Jeff Jackson is the GM de facto now, and Ken Holland just needs to play out his contract.
That's so important for you to point out because I know you were talking about like the delicate thing about talking about nepotism and like,
it's not delicate. People are pretty harsh about it.
Well, people are pretty harsh about it.
It's not abnormal, by the way, for people to take up the same trade as their parents.
Yes.
It's really not abnormal.
No, of course not.
So I don't discount people unless they got it and they didn't deserve it.
But it's not about a lack of qualification with Brad Holland. It's an accountability issue. And like you need to be able to push your dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And likewise, you got to be able to fire your son.
Yeah,
if it comes down to it.
If it's a bad example, but if the Sutters, for instance, let's say one of their kids wanted to be a head coach and they were the GM, that's an issue. But if he's a head coach on one team and there's a GM on another, it doesn't matter.
Well, the London Knights, for example, they always win, so they don't have this problem. But let's say they had 5 years where they were just dog shit. Mark Hunter would have to be able to fire his brother.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, they're too good to have to worry about that.
How do they keep doing it, Steve?
Man, I bet it's superior scouting.
Must be. Crazy. Anyway,
nothing
continue.
else. No, yeah. It's an accountability issue. It's not, I'm not saying this person is not qualified, but like you have to have a front office where you can hold each other accountable.
You also have to be able to ice a roster that you can sit players. And they couldn't do it. And frankly, Ken Holland and the Gretzky Holland sort of administration was done in by themselves. They did not need to go get Connor Brown. They did not need to sign Jack Campbell to that kind of money. There was a whole bunch of things that they could have done differently. And frankly, they did it to themselves.
And so Kris Knoblauch, I bet, coming in, one of the first things I would want to see if I was him, I want to see what Connor can do. Brown, that is.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's injured.
Well, no, but I trust this player implicitly. But when he comes back from injury or when he's not injured anymore, they still can't play him.
Yeah, no, he's done. Unless they want to take on $3 million next year.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's not going to play.
Even this guy, even the new guy is not able to see his ideal roster or all possibilities of the roster. Maybe Oilers fans have seen enough of Connor Brown where they're like, he just doesn't have it.
Yeah, he put up no points. He was a minus. It wasn't good.
It's not unreasonable to be maybe he just doesn't have it.
He needed runway though to get back into game speed, and they didn't structure a contract to give him runway.
Dude, I bet they try to get him a conditioning stint in Bakersfield. But would that count towards his games played total?
No, I think it's NHL. No, and then the person who wrote this contract is Jeff Jackson, which is
it Jeff Jackson?
Which is the funniest thing ever.
I think it was Jeff Jackson.
Jeff Jackson was still his agent when he signed it, right?
Right.
He signed it with Ken Holland.
This is the controversy.
And then he became the guy's boss.
One of the things we talked about with Alan Walsh about taking on a player management role with a team is, he's been on the agent side. So he knows, he's I don't know if I'd be able to trade a player because, I've been on the other side of it and I know what they go through. And I think it might have been the final contract Jeff Jackson ever signed as an agent.
Yep.
And here's a player who, it's not just about Brown not getting his bonus, because he's probably not going to get his bonus. But at the end of this, it's going to be basically 2 full years of him not playing NHL hockey. So if they prevent him from playing because of the bonus overage thing, there's a really good chance his NHL career is over.
No, they would just cut him. Like they'll terminate his contract.
Well,
and then he's free to go wherever.
That's
right?
what I was saying a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like there's incentive here for Connor Brown to be like, listen, just terminate me.
Yeah. That's what'll happen as opposed to like them just sitting him. That won't happen.
Right.
No.
But like if he's not able to, well, and now it's also fucking November.
Mm-hmm.
And like, who knows when they're going to make this decision? Who knows? Like,
I don't know how long the injury is going to keep him out too.
well, this is the thing. Like, if he's not able to come back until God knows when, and teams just go, listen, we can't afford to take this risk with you. Like, he would have to, at this point, like, terminate his NHL deal, maybe sign an AHL deal somewhere, try to get some playing time. If he does well, then signing an NHL deal. His NHL career might be over because of the decisions his agent, now boss, made.
Yeah. And with the thing we're talking about them not having enough salary cap room, the Connor Brown contract this season isn't affecting their ability to scratch guys and everything. He makes less than $800,000. He's $775. Like
it's the bonus if he were to play enough.
Yeah. The contracts that are affecting Jay Woodcroft's ability to coach properly are the Cody Ceci making $3.25. It's the Darnell Nurse deal, which is $9.25 million
When
till
was that
eternity.
signed, by the way, that was a few years ago.
The date it was
Before
signed,
he got hurt.
it kicked in. The signing date was 2021 August 6th. The Nurse contract signed by Ken Holland. You know, it's the Evander Kane makes 5.1, but you'd think he's worth it, but he hasn't been playing like it. You know, there's so many little deals that are affecting the salary cap, and they're right now still $25,000 up against the salary cap. That's how much space they have, and yeah, there's a lot of cap gymnastics that needs to go on Edmonton just to release some of the space.
Interestingly, I'm just reading about the articles. I'm reading a bunch of articles right now about when Jeff Jackson was hired. I'm scanning.
In the middle
I'm
of the
scanning for
podcast.
information.
Okay.
There's a reason. There's a reason I'm doing this, but I just discovered something. At the bottom of the ESPN article bringing Jeff Jackson in, it says Hockey Hall of Famer and former Edmonton defenseman Paul Coffey will assist Jackson in his new role. That's from this summer. You know, he was an agent. I think he had McDavid. I think he had DeBrincat and maybe some other ones.
He had a big client list.
But what I thought was interesting was I'm like, what is this guy's background? I know he was a former NHL player, played for the Leafs.
Jeff
for a bit.
Jackson?
Yeah, played 200 games.
Jeff Jackson was the assistant general manager in Toronto in 2006.
John Ferguson Jr.
Yeah, you remember that?
Really?
Yeah.
And he was a GM of the Marlies
In like 2010.
in 2006. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was GM of the Marlies and assistant GM of the Leafs.
I do vaguely remember.
Yeah, and then he left being in management to go be an agent, and he did that for a little bit, and then now he went back to being in management.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I just thought Leaf fans would love that. The guy that used to be the AGM
To John Ferguson Jr.
is now the CEO.
I think it was 2006.
He's not president. There's CEO of
Man,
the Oilers.
talk about a killer financial decision. Yeah, I don't want to be the GM of the Marlies anymore. I want to represent the best player in the world.
Took a bit of time though, and he also went to law school after hockey, so he was smart about it.
Oh, so he is smart.
Oh, he's very smart. Yeah.
But he had Matthews and McDavid. Like he signed that Matthews contract.
No,
Well, no, that's
no, that's
John
same
Moldover.
agency.
Oh, same
Yeah,
agency.
Wasserman.
Moldaver.
But it wasn't his client, but it was the same agency.
Right.
Oh,
and
okay.
so,
My
no,
bad.
Judd Moldaver inherited McDavid once Jeff Jackson left.
So he has Austin and McDavid.
Yes.
There we go.
Which is nuts.
We now have line rushes for the Edmonton Oilers' projected first game with Kris Knoblauch. The first line is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, Sam Gagner,
A little different.
Evander
All right.
Kane, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Holloway, McLeod, Fogle, Lavoie, Hamblin, Ryan, and then Nurse Ceci. Ceci is I don't know how this guy keeps getting top line right shot deep partners like this. Like every team he plays on, Ottawa, Toronto, Edmonton, he's been the number one right-handed D. It's crazy. Ekholm, Bouchard, and then Kulak, Desharnais. Seaweed man.
Seaweed man.
I also get annoyed because we got into a bit of an argument about this, not argument, like debate when we went to the game on Saturday. like teams that value the right-handed shot so much that they'll actively overlook talent for it?
Oh yeah, because the Leafs had the Flames game. They had 6 left-handed D,
And they won.
It
wasn't a
blew a
great
4-1 lead, but they won.
Yeah. But it wasn't. They didn't blow the 4-1 lead because they had 3 extra left shots in the lineup.
Maybe.
No, they didn't.
Maybe a little.
Stop it.
It's difficult to turn when you're not used to it on the other side.
That's true.
Ryan Reeves shoots right.
Yeah, you know what? And that's why you got to have Cece up on the top line, because he shoots right. Not because he's good. It's because he shoots right.
Man,
I think
oh,
we've
man.
overcorrected on the right shot thing. Okay? We've overcorrected. Now, this show is brought to you by BetterHelp. And I this time of year is tough because Halloween's done. And in Canada, we've got, you don't have any Thanksgiving in between, right? American Thanksgiving's coming up. You got that to look forward to.
It's tumbleweeds, except there are no tumbleweeds, so it's just nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little early to be celebrating Christmas, although some people are out there doing it. Good for them.
This is why I encourage celebrating as early as possible.
The thing that hurts the most, though, is the time change. I can't stand the time change. 4:30, it's dark.
Kids handle it great.
And so here's what we need. My daughter didn't think we were picking her up for school. She got worried. It was wild. I think this time of year is one where you have a minute to go, okay, I've been grinding it out for a couple of months since the summer ended. Maybe I'm not feeling the best. And frankly, when I started going to therapy, it was because I was not in a good place. And usually that's when people try it out. Don't wait for that. Just give it a shot. BetterHelp is great because it matches you with somebody within 48 hours. So there's no big, long 6-week time for a therapist to find an opening. And if you don't like your therapist off the top, they'll match you with a new one really quickly. And you can communicate via text. You can communicate via video call. It can be phone call, whatever works for you.
Would you recommend I sink my feelings into Black Friday deals that aren't really deals, or I go to therapy?
I would suggest therapy.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/STP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/STP. Now, I do want to talk about the Leafs game on Saturday night, which we were there for. And Steve, you did your LFR in the arena.
First time ever. We've tried in the past, but they always blare the music. They shut off the lights once. So it was the first time we've ever got all the way through it.
And MasterCard sent us there.
Yes, they did.
I got to bring my friends to the billionaire status lounge there.
Appreciated it.
But Jesse, we had one view on it because we grabbed it in the arena. I'm sorry, I didn't sleep great last night, so I can't spit anything out.
They get a cup of Joe.
I know it's not. I've had 2 cups of coffee. I just can't get the motor running.
Sometimes it doesn't take.
But then
It doesn't take.
You unfortunately had something you had to be at. But when you did watch the game later, what did you feel from the television that we would have seen in the arena? Because we could tell you how
What did I feel? What do you mean in terms of what did I feel?
Because sometimes people see things differently on TV than what you experience. Like, remember when I went to the Wild game and I'm like, I don't know what people are talking about. It's fucking loud in there and people are jacked. And I was super pumped about Ryan Reeves because he was in there fighting and it was his last good game as a Leaf.
It really was.
But I wanted to know first what you saw watching because we can tell you how it felt.
Yeah, I think the first things that stand out are the 2 instigator penalties. It's interesting. It was fascinating that, and they brought it up on the broadcast that, hey, Ryan Reeves is out, and now the 2 guys, you take 2 instigator penalties right away.
With the fourth line out there, too.
With the fourth line out. The fourth line was amazing. It was like a Steve Dangle revenge game.
Absolutely.
Let's prove Steve right that the fourth line is now humming. And I think that was kind of the storyline out of that the first little bit is that the instigator that Gio took. And I wonder, did you guys all cheer in the building? Was it?
Not a single, listen, I know some people online were like, okay, but it cost them 2 goals.
Yeah.
Number one, not a single living soul in the building was like, why is Giordano fighting right now? They were all like, let's go, 40-year-old man beating up Dakota Joshua. Leaf draft pick, by the way. And the other thing that was very overlooked, I thought, you are allowed to have a successful penalty kill. You're allowed to just simply not allow a power play goal. And everyone's like, oh, see? And I'm like, well, fuck. If the penalty kill wasn't the worst in the league.
Right.
You know what would help the Leafs stick up for themselves is if they could take an instigator, while knowing that it's not an automatic goal against.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, listen, they did take 3 penalties in a row to start the second, didn't let a goal in.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
It was something Bieksa brought up in intermission when they're like replaying that whole thing. It's like the waiting for the guy to engage so you don't get the instigator penalty instead of just like Domi just ran over there, Gio just ran over there, and you throw the gloves and everything. There's a little art to it in that you can engage in a fight so where you're both willing combatants and you don't get that penalty. I don't think that is unfair criticism, but if we're talking about like the difference between me watching on TV and you guys being in the building, like in the building, who gives a shit? Fans, the 20,000 in Scotiabank are just like, yeah, they're fighting. This is awesome. And then everybody on at home who's watching the game is like, that's a bad penalty. Also, this is awesome. So there's kind of, you have that other perspective when you're at home.
I think Kevin Bieksa, and I actually think he's probably the highlight of Hockey Night in Canada. He's really,
fantastic,
really good.
yeah.
So where I would disagree with him is he completely ignores the context of what this organization has been for more than a decade, which is you can push us around. And when the Leafs do respond, they get penalized for it because they never push back physically. And so
it's amazing how often it happens.
What I saw there was 2 penalties that were line in the sand moments. Hey, listen, if you're going to do this to our 4th line center, David Kampf, it wasn't like they did it to Matthews or Marner or Nylander. It was like, David Kampf, no, we're going to fuck you up. And I think
it wasn't a bad hit either.
It was
a little high.
Both hits were clean.
Yeah.
Both hits were clean.
Even the Robertson one was a little high, but
it was clean.
It was clean.
They were both fine.
But they
were both fine.
It was just, listen, whether or not it's clean, I don't think Gio had a chance to go back to the iPad and find out, right?
Wait a minute.
So
this isn't.
And what I think the Leafs needed to do more than just, like, they play the Canucks twice a year. They're always good games when they play the Canucks.
Very chippy.
But I don't think it's really so much that they needed to draw the line in the sand for the Canucks. I think they needed to do it for themselves.
Yes.
I think they needed to believe that they could do it. And I look at the penalties they took outside of the instigator shot. So
the too many men was so funny.
Gio got held. I think since Keefe took over, he's had 36 bench minors, and that's, I think, tops in the league.
They are the best team in the league at getting bench minors.
It
was a problem.
And
with
who's that on?
Too.
That's on the coach.
It is on the coach, but
they're so bad at changing lines.
Dude,
I've never seen a hockey team in my life that's worse at changing lines than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No, they're terrible because
I don't understand.
Well, because they don't fucking. You're taught to skate hard back towards the bench,
Not the
so you
Leafs.
don't fucking do that. And then what it does is if you don't skate hard back towards the bench, it creates a lot of confusion, and player thinks he's got to go when he doesn't. Also, I think Sheldon. I think he actually got mixed up. I think he didn't realize how many people were on the ice, and he tapped somebody to go.
The one during the penalty kill?
That was hilarious.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
And everybody in the crowd's like, it's too many men. It's too many men. Too many men.
Everyone in the building was like,
It's not supposed to be 5-on-5 right now, guys.
And so my point is, I think the Leafs, for themselves, they had a fragile psyche. They fucking got absolutely like walked by Boston in terms of physicality, and they always do.
Yes.
But when your general manager has to come down from his perch and go, can you guys stick up for each other or what? That's embarrassing. And by the way, all the media knew about it. We all heard about it. And we've also heard things that are not being reported. And I feel like the Toronto Maple Leafs for themselves needed to do that. I don't mind taking an instigator penalty and having a goal scored on you. I mind having a bench minor and having a goal scored against you. That bothers me.
Yes.
I feel like the instigator thing was, no, we're gonna pull this together. I don't think that Dakota Joshua would have fought Mark Giordano if Mark hadn't initiated.
No.
I know that Ian Cole would not have fought Domi because when you saw
did
him,
not want it.
he just grappled him against the boards. He didn't throw any. He didn't really throw.
That's
much.
smart
And
by
then
Ian
Domi approached Joshua midway through the game again, and Joshua was like, "No, don't want it."
The allowing the goal thing, like not killing that penalty, bothers me. Like the goals are the entire point of the game, guys.
Yes.
Like you gotta stop goals. You can't have that. You gotta kill the penalty if that's gonna happen. If you're gonna be a team that takes instigators, you have to be a team that can kill penalties.
I agree, but I also think the Toronto Maple Leafs are down anyway all the time. I knew they were coming back.
I
knew they were down.
I didn't give a damn.
In a regular season, I didn't give. I was not.
I did not give a damn if they won that game. They needed to. No,
I
know.
cared about that. That part I want to say I've differentiated.
After the Boston game, well, as soon as Liljegren got hurt, I went, I don't care if they win this game. I don't care if they win this game. Confetti gloves the entire game. All of you. And none of them. And they lost the game. You suck. Like, no wonder. That's why people have been so down on this team. After that game, no one cared if the Leafs won that game. If they won it on top of the confetti gloves, great.
You're talking about the Boston one.
I'm talking about the Boston one. But then they didn't do shit. So this Canucks game, I'm like, all right, sometimes you got to pick a game and sacrifice it to the hockey gods and just get your pound of flesh. Like, just get your pound of flesh. And they weren't interested. Here's a weird question. This is perhaps reading too much into it. But I can't help but notice that this response finally happened in the game where Reeves was out of the lineup. Is there an element of having a true heavyweight, one of the last true heavyweights in the NHL? Is there an element of having a guy like Ryan Reeves that makes you on the bench go, whenever there's a problem, oh, it's his to handle? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Dakota Joshua goes out there and he hits David Kampf. Is there an element of, I don't have to go because Reeves is going to do it?
I think so. Well, the Ryan Reeves quote that bothered me after the Boston game, and that Boston game was the most pivotal of the early season.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one that bothered me is, I couldn't get Marchand because they had last shift. And to me, it's like,
get someone else.
It doesn't fucking matter if you got Marchand. I think Jesse pointed out, isn't Tread Fredericks skating at the same time?
Get someone
There's
else.
other people. And
get anyone else.
And Reeves didn't do that. And I think it's nice that I find with this Toronto Maple Leafs team, I honestly do, or have found in the past, that they don't take initiative when they should. What I saw Gio do, and then what I saw Domi do, and we haven't talked to any about how good Domi's been playing center, which he deserves.
With a finisher. Oh my God.
He's been great.
I saw them take initiative and just say, I'm not going to wait for someone else to do this. I am going to do this. And then other people will follow me. Giordano's a leader. Mm-hmm. He's a former captain, 2 franchises. Mm-hmm. You could see him doing that. Domi, I think he's just full of piss and vinegar, man. The guy's always played that way.
And you know what I think we saw with Robertson? Like, in his crazy celebration for the 4-2 goal. It's not just a guy scoring. I think he scored in back-to-back games. Mm-hmm. It's not just a guy realizing I'm staying in the fucking NHL this time. Finally, it's a guy getting one back because the Canucks scored. I think it was their second goal because of the Domi instigator for the hit that happened on Robertson. And I think there was an element of Robertson that said that goal happened because of me.
Right.
I'm not saying that's why that goal went in. I'm not saying it's
not his fault, but it's maybe his problem.
Well, you know what? My guy stuck up for me. We got scored against. I got to get one back. And he did. Mm-hmm. That's him holding up his end of the bargain, looking like such a fucking badass, by the way. Bleeding from the ear for like an hour straight, basically, and then scoring a goal in the NHL. Like, say goodbye to your place near Coca-Cola Coliseum. That kid's never going back.
No. And I think to that point, I think Toronto wants this. I think a lot of Leaf fans want this, and that does matter. They want a team like this. You look at the teams that we grew up on, and the teams that our parents grew up on. The best teams had a little bit of scoring. In this case, they have a ton of scoring, which is amazing, and they had bite. You had, guys for our generation was like Tucker Corson, Gary Roberts, things like, players like that. From the early 90s, Wendell Clark and whoever else you want to name. I think Toronto likes a team that will punch you in the face and score.
They had their big fighters.
You got to win.
They had their big fighters, but the most popular players in the city were players who could stick up for themselves and score. Mm-hmm. Like Darcy Tucker. Complete rat. Absolute rat. But whatever. Like, he would put up 20, 30 goals.
One of the most popular Leafs of the last half century.
Yes.
Darcy Tucker.
Gilmore, same thing. Wendell Clark, same thing. Gary Roberts, same thing. Shane Corson, same thing.
Dion Phaneuf.
Definitely. Definitely.
I mean, yeah, he could.
He was part of an era where
also,
that
don't
shine
salute
wore
the
off
fans.
a little bit.
Fuck them. Man, there's got to be some sort of article or documentary on Salutgate. I maintain it would be fascinating. Jesse, I think here's the problem with what Steve and I are saying.
Yeah.
Is that you're right. You are objectively right.
Okay.
And I just feel
is
like
he right about?
I don't.
Yeah.
He's right about the instigators. He's right. Objectively,
Yeah, you got to
he's
kill a
right.
penalty, and also it's bad to take a penalty.
It is. However, can it be wrong for one night? Can this way be the right way for? I'm not asking the Leafs to go out and do this every game.
Sure.
But this felt like they needed it, and every once in a while they're going to have to do it. And Steve, what did you call it on the LFR?
An investment.
It's an investment.
Well, and that win against the Canucks. Now, listen, this could expire very quickly, but that win against the Canucks could go on to define the rest of the season. Because I talked about it'd be nice coming out of Sweden with a 2-1-1 record. So you have the back-to-back Calgary-Vancouver. You head into that expecting to beat Calgary and expecting to probably lose to Vancouver because Vancouver's better and it's second half of a back-to-back.
Yep.
Right? Then you go to Sweden. You're facing two teams that are going to be on the second half of a back-to-back. That's how it works out. Detroit is going to be the tired team. Minnesota is going to be the tired team. The Leafs are going to be the rested team both games.
Oh, nice.
It'd be nice to come out of those 4 games with at least 5 out of 8 points. Now they get to ride a game where they stuck up for each other, they fought, they came back, and they won. They get to ride that for nearly a week.
And they get to go to a foreign country together and have a blast.
And have a blast and think of how much looser that flight across is going to be. And then if you do well in those games, ideally win both, at least win the last one, that flight home is going to be just as good. Like, think of what that could potentially do to the season going into Sweden, and then if they do a good job there. Think of what that could do. It could be the complete antidote to that Boston game and Buffalo. It wasn't just that they got pushed around by Boston. It's that they had the meeting and then fucking lost to Buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah, and kept giving up the lead there, too.
Same shit.
So Ryan Reeves is in the lineup when they're doing the practices today, right?
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, he's on line rushes, but David Kampf isn't practicing.
Yeah, David Kampf scratched, so who knows if he actually makes the Sweden lineup. When we saw Ryan Reeves in New York, he was traded before December. He was traded on November 23rd because it was a season and then a little bit. And they found out next season. They're like, you know what? We're kind of tired of this.
Pittsburgh, too.
We don't need this. And Pittsburgh, he lasted, I think it was 58 games. I was just looking up on his DB. Yeah, it was 58 games in Pittsburgh. And then by the end of Vegas, yeah, they didn't need him on the roster either. Does Ryan Reeves survive the Leafs December 1st? Is he still a Toronto Maple Leaf?
Well, I mean, what do you do, man? Like, listen, I stuck up for him because of the way his first 2 games went, because they were exactly as advertised. He got scored on, but also
It wasn't his fault. One
No, it
was a
wasn't his
defenseman
fault.
blew a tire.
I agree.
It was not his
I
fault.
agree.
Go
I
with the other
agree.
way, yeah.
He laid some big hits. He softened up the other team. I believe he got the Leafs a power play because they took the instigator on him. He was exactly as advertised
For 2 games.
for 2 games, and
was
this is why I've been saying, like, he better be hurt because it's either he's hurt or he's a fraud. Like, it's one or the other. And I'm not in the habit of calling people a fraud, so that's why I think he's hurt.
Yeah.
Because I think Ryan Reeves is about that life. I do think he's unafraid of anybody in this league.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be hurt. Because if he's not hurt, there's no purpose for having this person on this hockey team.
Here's the problem, Jesse, is when Ryan Reeves was traded, like 60% of the league was not up against the cap. Like, if you're going to trade him to who and for what, right? And like, I mean, you know, if you're getting him for the vibes, the Oilers make a lot of sense, even though they can't afford it. You know, if you want somebody to make the
That's
boys feel
not gonna
good,
happen.
well, it's not going to happen. But I'm just saying, like, here's what I think with Ryan Reeves, guys. They have a lineup that already works. You know, Kampf is maybe taking a maintenance day or whatever, but you know that it'll be Gregor, Kampf, McMahon, or it should be for most of Sweden.
It was excellent.
It was
on
excellent.
Saturday.
They were outstanding. David Kampf with a tip and goal. Are you kidding me?
McMahon had 2 points.
My question would be, Is there a problem with keeping him around because he's a good guy and he knows what his role is and he plays 25 games?
I mean,
I hope he's not minus 25 at the end of those games.
I don't hate that at all.
You don't need to get rid of him right away.
And he won't play in the playoffs. You know he won't.
It's
just keep him around.
It's very possible he is bought out, like at the end of this season, like we talked about.
Yeah.
I think that's almost a fact already.
Yeah. Well, the only bit of good news, and people are going to roll their eyes, Drew, is you don't give a 3-year deal to a guy who had no other offers. Mm-hmm. So maybe someone
Minnesota wanted him, apparently.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, maybe someone who wanted him this summer could get him. I don't know. I mean, okay, the cap hit, if they were to buy him out, is $450,000 for 4 years, starting this summer. So if the Leafs can trade him somewhere and retain, and it's that or less, that's a victory. Because even if you retain $450,000 of his cap hit, it's for half the term that the buyout would be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there
I just feel like, okay,
could be some sense there.
Ryan Reeves lost his place in the lineup. But there's a big difference between losing your place in the lineup and losing your place on the team. Matt Martin, to me, is a guy that lost his place in the lineup and on the team at the same time. Mike Babcock got to game 41 of season 2 of Matt Martin's 4-year contract and said, "You'll never touch the ice here again."
It was really weird.
And
to the point where, like, people who wanted Martin out of the lineup were like, "Can you play him?"
This is strange.
This is weird.
And,
it was mean.
And then he was instantly traded as soon as Lou was let go, and Lou brought him to back to the island. I think something happened there. I think that there's a difference between losing your spot in the lineup and losing your spot on the team. Matt Martin lost both at the same time. And since then, we've instantly looked at roles like that. Oh, well, you've lost. Well, how do we get rid of him? Guys, we don't have to be that efficient. We can just roll with these lines. And if Ryan Reeves plays every 4 games, once every 4 games for the next 60, is that what we have left? 70 something?
They played 13.
13. So we've got 69. 69. We have 69 games left. That's a lot of games.
So many games.
So I just feel like I don't need to rush this. Is this guy a bad person? No, he's a great guy.
We don't
is
know
he a person that they don't like around? No, apparently all reports are that this guy is awesome. Keep him around. What's the big deal? I don't,
I'm not flustered.
Somebody's going to get injured.
Yeah, and ideally you replace him with someone else.
Yeah.
Ideally you replace him with someone else.
Jesse, what else did you notice from line rushes this morning?
Line rushes this morning.
There was one other key name.
Nyes Matthews Marner. Bertuzzi Tavares Nylander. Robertson Domi Yarncroke. McMahon Gregor Reeves. On defense, we got Riley Brody, Gio McCabe, Benoit Lagesson, and Connor Timmins.
Connor Timmins
is 7th guy.
As a regular, he's practicing, by the way.
So there you go.
Interesting.
Working his way back.
They made it sound like he won't be back soon. Klingberg is obviously battling something.
Yeah, he is absent along with David Kampf.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Klingberg didn't just have a good game against Vancouver. He looked comfortable. That game against wasn't Calgary. Who was the game before where he looked fucking terrible? Maybe it was Calgary. He looked like he couldn't move. He looked like he couldn't.
Oh yeah, that Klingberg game was bad.
Bend properly. It was really
no. The Calgary game, he was scratched.
Right. Whatever the game before that was, the season moves too fast for me. Whatever the game before that was, where he had that really weird fall. He just looked like he couldn't move properly, and he looked comfortable. The Canucks tried to pressure him. They didn't force him to make any stupid mistakes, really, by my eye. I thought he had a good game.
Sens.
Right. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
That was bad.
Yeah. No, he was absolutely terrible.
And maybe he is fighting something. And fighting something doesn't have to be body. It can be the pressure of being in Toronto. It could be a whole bunch of things, I
think it's his body.
But it can be both.
Could be both.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is, let him figure it out. Let them shelter him. Having McCabe back in the lineup is a bigger factor than people are giving it credit for. And William Lagesson has been found money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's a guy that you don't notice, doesn't screw anything up. Occasionally he cross-checks a guy. Easy.
And
That's an easy, you're in the lineup.
travel can be hard on you, but they also don't play until Friday.
Yes.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm not convinced, like maybe this is the wrong way of looking at it. Like these games count. These games in Sweden count. I do not think they will be the most violent. You know what I mean? You know the unspoken rule that you basically don't beat the shit out of each other in an outdoor game?
Right.
I wonder what the pace of these games are.
What do you say?
Are.
What do you say to Austin Matthews, who likes to get suspended out of outdoor games?
Well, luckily this one's indoors. Luckily this
Right.
one's indoors, so he can't get suspended.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many LFRs have you done outside of Canada?
Oh man, very few. I did a couple in New York one year because my wife and I went to New York on a March break. That might be it.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to. Winnipeg.
Outside of Canada. Yeah. Drew said Winnipeg.
Did I do one in Buffalo when I was there? No, I didn't do one in Buffalo.
How many Leafs games? Because I don't think we've traveled to a lot of Leafs.
We
We
haven't.
did the the Air Canada fan flight
Oh,
for that,
man,
that
2011
Boston game.
Yeah, but we flew back that night.
Oh, yeah.
Remember we got
when
a
did
special
you do the
thing through
LFR?
We
I
didn't even have
must
to
have
go
been when
through
I
like
got
normal airport security.
We went right to the tarmac. It
Yeah,
was
like
awesome.
they didn't even run us through. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I just 2011 in Boston. I think I might have done that from Boston.
We're talking less than a handful.
Man, I can't really even. Oh, and I did one in Philly, I think, because the Leafs played the same night that I was in Philly watching a Flyers-Rangers game.
Wow.
Why were you there doing that?
I don't know. And the two goalies that night, I remember this, were Alex Lyon and Alexander Georgiev.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah, just really early in their careers.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we're talking like LFR 4 that's outside of Canada.
Never done
That's
one
pretty
in Europe.
That's pretty cool.
Never done one in Europe.
Nikita Zadorov's agent asked for a trade mid-game on Friday.
Dude, this was awesome.
So this is Dan Milstein. We are Gold Star Hockey Agent 1 on Twitter.
Hockey agent was taken.
Yeah, so Hockey Agent 1. So in the middle of the Leafs game, he says, get your tickets Toronto. Get your tickets Toronto, which I thought was weird.
That was, yeah, I noticed that too. It's definitely worded like Zadorov wants to be traded to the Leafs.
And here comes the Zadorov train. Get your Leafs Forever tickets today, because he had hit Tyler Bertuzzi. So maybe that's what it
Good
meant.
hit, by the
And then hashtag We Are Gold Star exclamation point. There was a few ellipses in there too. Now he was asked by a fan from Calgary, Dan, can we keep him? And he said, I don't think so. Not when the best D rarely gets the ice time.
So he was calling Nikita Zadorov the best D on the Flames. That's a good agent.
That's the kind of agent you want, right?
Yep, exactly. I saw some
Tired.
people like,
Gas
what?
me up, baby.
What happened to Mackenzie Weegar? Like, guys, what can you imagine if Dan Milstein was like, well, they barely play the third best defender on the Flame, like, or whatever. Like that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
No, it was very spicy, and apparently, I think it was 32 Thoughts today. There was a rumor going around on Twitter that I saw, that one of the Leafs allegedly told Zadorov, "You're basically exactly what we need."
Oh.
Which is spicy as all hell.
That is, I would love to know who said that.
I would love to know who said that.
What we're hearing this morning is that the Leafs have made their offer or whatever, and they're just waiting on the Flames to commit to making the trade. I think there's an agreement in place where either Zadorov and Chris Tanev would come to Toronto. People are like, how would the salary work? For some reason, ever since that Frank Saravalli report, everybody's been convinced TJ Brodie's out of town. And I don't know why, because I thought he's played fine.
Well, okay, they keep saying the Leafs want to get Zadorov and Tanev. Who the hell comes off the roster to make that work?
It would have to be TJ Brodie's contract.
I mean, he's the only one who really makes sense.
Nylander.
Send
him home to his
Nylander,
hometown.
definitely, yeah, to his hometown.
He's from Sweden, Calgary.
Like, in terms of making the money work there, I don't know what Tanev makes.
He makes 5, I think, or 4.
That's a
4.5.
lot.
4.5.
Like I've heard
Look it up.
several rumors for what the trade could be, and none of them math at all. Like
4.5.
unless we're talking salary retention. So Tanev makes 4.5. What does Zadorov make?
3.75.
Dude, that's a lot
Hold
of
on,
money.
but Calgary can retain on both of those.
They're gonna have to because Brody
sure they
wouldn't
will.
be enough to get it done.
Well, I think that's what they would do.
That's a lot. Also, there's a couple other teams that are in the mix. Apparently, Arizona has made a pretty good offer towards Calgary. Vancouver's in on it, and I think Ottawa was the other team. So there's a lot of teams fighting for this. It's not like guaranteed the Leafs will get Zadorov. And I don't even know if that's gonna is that the solution of their problem, Zadorov?
No, I mean,
think
it's an improvement.
He's more of what the Leafs want to be, or what Brad Treliving wants the Leafs to be. Does he make them?
Yeah, at the expense of TJ Brody though.
I mean, I like
don't-
TJ Brody a lot.
I like TJ Brody.
Yeah, I don't love the listen, if they get both of them, I can stomach it, but I don't
Sure.
love the idea of losing Brody to address your defensive problems.
No, I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
He's been taking a lot of penalties these days. He is so funny to watch. That
Brody?
dude is just winging it out there.
Well, maybe that's what's driving them crazy.
He's so
Maybe they don't want
funny.
that.
Like if he didn't make so many good plays, I think I'd hate him. Like he's
Really?
Yeah, dude, you got to watch TJ Brody closely. That dude is fucking making it.
Yeah, but
he's
he's
Maybe
the
that's the
dude
problem.
getting a B plus on all of his assignments.
I agree.
You know, he's never an A. He's never failing, but he's got a solid B.
And he's paid
on
that
everything.
way, by the way.
Yeah,
he's like a guy
I
who
have
does
no
that.
problem with TJ Brody. That's why I like my eyebrows raised when I hear we're moving him for Tanev or for Zadorov. You know, maybe this deal's better if we can get Brandon too with Kris.
I hope
Get the Tanev brothers.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
let's go, Brandon. Get him in there. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. No, I'm wondering. I'm
Phrase
not,
the people say.
I wonder what they. I'm looking at the Leafs roster. I'm like, I don't know what you have to give TJ, right? But then
Maybe there's a 3-way deal. Maybe they're working on something else.
I don't know.
Now
It's a lot of money.
this is okay. They're going to be in Sweden for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back to Saturday, over a week. Every day of the season affects the salary cap. And I wonder if this was the sort of deal that they tried to get done before flying across the Atlantic Ocean, and they're not able to get it done. So it's something they do as soon as they get back.
if they still feel like they need it, like what if they go and they start rolling in Sweden? It's like, okay, well, do we need to make a move right now? All of a sudden, the impetus isn't necessarily there anymore.
Don't think the team is not thinking exactly what I just laid out a few minutes ago. Like, wait, we could ride this for the rest of the season if things go well. And if they don't, then you make the move. But they've got,
Or you can just wait till the trade deadline.
like, I assume they're flying out today because they have practice Wednesday at noon in Stockholm.
So either tonight, because they're practicing right now, so they're not flying anywhere. So either like tonight, late night, or like early tomorrow morning is when they'll fly.
the flight across the Atlantic, the flight to Europe sucks.
Why?
Oh, it's so much better coming home. It's the
Why?
time change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm always one time I was speaking to my, I guess, grandfather-in-law, and he realized he was just talking to the back of my head, and he was just like, "Go to bed, Steve," because I had just gotten off a red eye, and I was completely.
You didn't add that part.
No, my bad.
All right.
Go to bed. He knew I wasn't paying attention to a
How
single
long
word.
is the flight?
I think it's 8 hours or 7 hours if it was direct. But
They're doing it.
it's
for
not.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for you.
No.
For the
No, I
Leafs.
assume the Leafs are going direct.
And so it's 7 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
roughly.
How long's
Oh, Drew says 9?
9 for you guys? Direct, it's 9 hours.
7 and a
7
half
half
to
to
London.
London. Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah. I don't. What is it for the Poors and what is it for the Leafs?
And then how long is the flight from Toronto to LA?
It's like 5.5.
5.5. So
As much as 6.
As much as okay, so you're about 2.5 hours off of like the longest flight you'll take in the NHL, which isn't too bad.
A flight across North America is almost the same as a flight across the Atlantic. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's why the NFL is like, we could throw a team in London and you shouldn't complain about the travel.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much.
But Sweden's a little further. Yeah, so the guys will be okay. It's just the time difference is a little wonky.
Yeah. No, the earlier they go, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's okay for the video bloggers to be tired.
I want to throw something in there quickly about the game that we just didn't really touch on. How much better Max Domi is playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That center
Weird.
role is
Amazing.
awesome with Nick. Yeah.
Love that line. And quickly I want to sneak in there. It was nice for Matthews, Marner, and Nyes. They were good, but they weren't really that noticeable. And it was nice for them to be able to have a night where they didn't have to be.
Yes.
And Nylander was Nylander, but
Yeah, they didn't have to be completely superhuman.
now
How is he the best player on the ice for the Leafs? When
He's a
maniac.
When Matthews doesn't have a hat trick, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, Nylander's
though,
just
he
stepping
still
up.
is, though. Like,
He's been his skating. Like, I don't know if we just never noticed how good it is, but it's unreal.
No, it's better.
It's better, right?
yeah.
No, he's taken a step in every regard.
Yeah, just
absolutely
everything.
every regard.
He's on the fucking penalty kill now, and he's not like the dads aren't harping on him for like lazy back checking and all that. He's doing decent.
I like what Keefe is doing, by the way. He's using him on the penalty kill really strategically. It's like only with 30 seconds to go
Yep.
after the Leafs have dumped it out.
Yep.
And it's Nylander out there with Matthews.
Yeah. So then
Which
when
is so fun.
when it turns over and you get the extra man back on, it's Nylander Matthews out there and they're having a good time.
Love
pretty
that.
fun.
I
Yeah,
love that.
Nylander's
for
been
them.
it's so fun to watch.
What if we could get Conf not starting overtime, though, guys? Can we get to that? I like what Keefe is doing every other place.
I
Can we
think
do
the
it?
last
didn't.
two.
Yeah.
last two he hasn't.
No. On with Calgary, because that was the overtime game, right?
Yeah, went to a shootout.
Yeah.
And
They won
Matthews
the
had an
shootout.
objectively bad overtime.
he's
people
not
are
a good overtime
Well,
player.
here's
No.
that's what's
He's not.
I always get tweeted that people are like, when I get on them about comp starting overtime, they're like, well, Matthews isn't good at it. I'm like, well, he's $11.5 million, so make him good. And next year it'll be 13.5. So he will have to just keep playing until he's good at it.
Play him on
and,
the wing.
And by the way,
I don't
he's
know what
talented
to
enough
tell you.
Figure it out.
Yeah, like and stop playing him with Marner.
Yeah,
Stop.
play him with Nylander.
5-on-5, fine. Overtime, stop. They can't do it, guys.
If they played it the right way, they could just switch Marner, Matthews, Nylander, cycle them on in 3-on-3 overtime.
Right?
Yeah,
no,
just one
can't do it.
sits, the other two are out.
I want to pull up the who started overtime versus Calgary.
It was definitely Matthews.
It was
Matthews, Marner, Brody.
Listen, I don't totally remember. I had a weed gummy that night, so I just remember going, what's going on with Matthews? But I don't remember who started.
The last two overtimes started Matthews, Marner, Brody.
There you go.
Okay,
You are correct.
man,
well done.
Brody who makes those wild plays.
He's just like what is it like? It's like the martial art drunken something. I can't remember what it is, but he's just out there doing shit.
Yeah, it's working for him. Guys, there are two former first overall picks on pace for 70 points this year.
Okay,
Name them.
two former first overall picks, just 70 points. So like
Well,
Matthews,
in and around 70 points ish, right? Because they're all estimates.
Alexis Lafrenière and Connor Bedard.
Connor McDavid.
I
said it
you told
earlier.
me that earlier. Shit.
Alexis Lafrenière, Jesse.
He had the best game of his career. It was the best game of his career last night.
Followed by the last one.
Followed by next game, Rangers play. 2 goals and the shootout winner. It was a spectacular performance by Laff, and it's crazy how when you get a 21-year-old that you don't give up on, you give him consistent playing time with a fantastic cast of line mates, that he can finally show his true potential. And he's been fantastic this season.
Can I just say, remember the Rangers hired Laviolette? And we were talking about like, oh, I don't know about that. And then I started going through his resume and it was basically nothing but good.
Yeah.
Like,
Apparently everybody hates him on the way out, but he wins a lot. Yeah,
isn't that most coaches?
I think it is.
Like-
that's why you get fired.
I'm sure, like, listen, he's never been the coach of my team, so I haven't paid like as close attention as a lot of others. I'm sure he's done some like micro stuff with like individual players, individual lines, roster decisions that have pissed people off. This guy gets results like almost everywhere he goes. But I mean, it's also Lafrenière who had messed up development because of a global event.
Yeah.
And mentioned that I didn't think he forgot how to play hockey, and lo and behold, he hasn't.
He has played. This is his 4th season already, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And here's the thing. Last night, his average ice time's in around 15 minutes. He played 24 minutes last night.
Wow.
They kept running him out there because he was playing so well.
Yeah,
and
do it.
They rode the hot hand, and what's really opened up his game is playing with Panarin. Like, Panarin has been the MVP of that team, like, by far and away, with Igor being out for a little and Adam Fox especially being out and Hedl being out. Panarin stepped it up, and he's been just an assist machine and feeding Lafrenière all night.
So, sorry, I looked over at your computer.
Yeah.
Those are Panarin stats.
Oh, what I have in front of me?
Yeah.
He has 8 goals, 16 assists.
I thought those were laughs. I was like, holy shit.
No. Yeah, no, but Laff and Panarin have been fantastic line mates this season so far. It's good to see. I'm always rooting for players. There's a lot of fans of other New York area teams that are upset that Laff plays well because they're like, he's a bust and all that. But I'm always rooting for guys to succeed and not like, oh, I hope he's a bust so my team feels better about it. So I'm always like, yeah, this is awesome to see this guy who everybody was down on for 3 seasons of his career finally get a role that he can step into.
I think it's also something that, first off, Leaf fans, I don't blame them for dunking on the Montreal Canadiens for Slavkovsky, but it's something to keep in mind with Slavkovsky is A, he's playing with Newhook most of the time, and Newhook can't play center, at least not yet. Well. Number 2, when he does move up to the first line, he looks good. Number 2, he's 19.
Well,
there's plenty of time.
And as a hockey fan, I don't know what to say for you guys, but as a hockey fan, I'm rooting for Slavkovsky to succeed. I'm rooting for Shane Wright to get it together and be like the star that everybody thinks he is. Isn't that just how we should look at this stuff?
I'd be more worried about Slavkovsky as a player if Habs fans seem to be more worried about it. They were at the beginning of the season, but they all seem to be like, yeah, his stats suck, but like he had a good game.
Now,
-2.
Before we get to the press conference here, I want to read you a story. Now, sometimes we get salty about things in sports. Sports is the salty mecca, right? This is what, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but a few days ago, 2 Peruvian clubs squared off in their soccer championship. Have you seen this?
No. Well, I do know that La U won.
Yeah. So Universitario Deportes called for sanctions to be imposed on Alizana Lima on Thursday after their Peruvian league title celebrations were plunged into darkness at their rivals' stadium. So imagine the Leafs win the Stanley Cup in Boston and they shut off the lights at TD Garden.
That's mean.
Universitario claimed a record-extending 27th league title after a 2-0 win against Alizana.
That's hilarious.
And they wrapped up a 3-1 aggregate victory. But before the celebrations could get underway at Alejandro Villanueva Stadium, an incident, basically they shut off all the lights with all the fans in there.
Okay.
And when you
that's
see them,
dangerous.
I can't play the footage, but when you see it, it's on TV and you can't see a thing. Like every light's out.
That's dangerous, man. You got thousands of people trying to get home.
Yeah. So
wow,
isn't that wild?
That is the only reason I know about La U, by the way. I don't even I know that's the nickname of the team. I have no idea what the real one is because of producer Luis, who used to work on the Watch a Leaf game with Steve Dangle.
Oh, is he a big fan?
Streams. Yes, he is. He's from Peru.
Amazing. Well, anyway, I just thought, can you imagine? There's 65,000 people in one of those stadiums.
And they
all the lights
shut all the lights
You're
off.
not celebrating here. Bye.
Okay. As long as no one got hurt, it's really funny.
Jesse, what are you bringing up there?
I was just doing something for the press conference.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's get into it.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
So the Atlanta Hawks launched a new sub-site where they bring all their fans together, and you can get there's giveaways there. It's where you can get tickets and you get some merch too. And they launched it and they called it only Hawks fans. So and as you know, OnlyFans is an adult app where you can follow many people and they do explicit things.
Nudes, baby.
What?
So
what?
People. and you just subscribe to Naked.
So Atlanta, the
Is
Hawks.
this well known? Is that out there?
So the Hawks wanted it's only Hawks fans, kind of like a play on OnlyFans. And to launch only Hawks fans, they made a video with their mascot.
No.
And then an OnlyFans parody. So I was wondering if you guys wanted to watch it.
Can we watch it?
Absolutely.
All right, let's watch it. Only Hawks fan.
That's very funny.
That's too
Hot
many.
5-on-5 action.
That's
so
too
for
much.
everybody listening, it's the Atlanta Hawks mascot in a bed doing some very seductive moves. And yeah, it was for the launch of the in-season tournament.
Being careful to not rub their nipples and instead go up the shoulder, I noticed.
Yeah, it's
Outside of this, the Atlanta Hawks are kind of like the most forgettable franchise in the NBA. Like, no one ever talks about the Hawks.
Well, now they are.
And so now they
You
are.
like Trae
It's
Young?
nice to see. I know they have Trae Young.
Those
You know what
are
I'm talking about.
only
Like,
bird feet.
What's wrong
or
with
whatever.
Trae
that
Young?
was like, oh man, the Hawks, what a threat. Like, no one's ever said that. So
also-
it's nice to see them making some noise.
I also legitimately hate watching Trae Young play basketball
Why?
because he might be the biggest flopper I've ever seen in any sport, including soccer.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's disgraceful. He's actually like, how do you sleep?
Steve, I didn't know you'd have a hot take on Trae Young.
Oh, dude. Well,
both of you.
basketball content creators are really good at their job, so they are good at making me care about basketball. Shout out us. Shout out the Objective Basketball Podcast.
What was the last consequential thing the Atlanta Hawks did, Jesse?
They went to the Eastern Conference Final with Trae Young a couple years ago.
Yeah. He spent most of it on his back.
Fart.
Yeah. Fart.
What?
Fart.
Boring. I
There also
care
might be
more
a
about the Pelicans,
destination.
Thank you.
There might be a destination for Pascal Siakam.
Take another
Oh,
three.
okay.
and after.
Now we got it.
This question is asked by KOH_34. Just because I don't know if this has been discussed already, Knoblauch is the German word for garlic. Does that mean that the Oilers officially self-proclaimed that they stink this season?
Oh,
Ah,
I
no.
thought it was that they were warding off vampires.
Yeah, they're trying to get
Sucking
rid of
their
the
bowls dry.
energy vampires. Blah.
This question
Suck
is
their blood.
from Chase Haddon. What was the best story John LeClaire told at the Lindros Classic? Did he tell the one about what his teammates did to Ron Hextall after the Potvin fight? I don't know that one.
No, we don't know that.
No,
I don't know that
I need to know that one.
We didn't ask a ton of. It was weird because it was. We didn't ask a ton of questions. We
Just
just
mention John LeClaire was our celebrity that played on
Yeah.
our team because you drafted him first overall.
Yeah, no, well, he's in the Flyers front office now, so we were like, who's getting traded? And he told us, and we were like, whoa, that's crazy. He's like, just don't mention it anywhere. And we said, okay, sure. So, and it was a lot. Like, it was juicy. Oh, boy. And it, like, I'm just saying, if you're on the Flyers right now, no, he didn't tell us anything. Don't worry.
Okay.
He was just a great guy to play with.
Steve, this is from Sphere Con. Do you have any thoughts about Jay Weinberg being kicked out of Slipknot?
Yeah, that's really, really weird. I mean, he's like an incredible performer. Absolutely incredible performer. I don't know why Slipknot chose to do that. I did not at their show thing.
You caused it, didn't you?
Yeah. I was like, you know what?
He's
This
so
guy's a
nervous
bum.
that Steve Dangle's in the audience that he didn't play up to par.
Now, I will say this. Jay Weinberg came on stage after the Slipknot show in Toronto at Budweiser Stage, and he was wearing a Jack Campbell jersey.
Ooh.
So maybe he wasn't kicked out of the band. He was just sent down
Nice.
to like a lesser, like more of a blues band, you
fair
know,
enough.
like a little less. No, that's really weird, and I guess politics affect all levels of everything,
Honestly, like
including metal bands.
if you've ever seen the some kind of or the whatever the Metallica documentary was, being in a band at that level seems kind of horrible. Because you're literally like, we're going to go out there and it's like all of us and we're a team. And then it's like, yeah, but I make 50% and the rest of you assholes make 5%. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how it works. So it's
every documentary I've ever seen about a mega famous person made me like, made me like hate their life.
but mega famous in a team environment too. Because like you're talking, I think specifically about Kevin Hart's documentary where he doesn't stop.
you're unbelievable.
I know you.
You're unbelievable. How do you know that?
I know you because you've talked about it before. But I think in this particular case, like Jay's not the original drummer, I don't think.
No, he's not.
And so I think that what happens sometimes is like, there's politicking. I remember, do you guys know the band Journey? Like Don't Stop Believing?
Yeah, of course.
So I went and saw them right before the pandemic, 2019, and they were amazing. And they have a whole story with their lead singer, how they plucked him out of nowhere in Southeast Asia because he was in a Journey cover band and couldn't speak English that well. And anyway, the guy's phenomenal. The rest of the guys in the band are original members. So over the course of the pandemic, my mom sends me an article, and 2 of them tried to oust the other 2, tried to literally do a hostile takeover of Journey Inc., or whatever their company is called that runs the band's functions. And then the other 2 guys had to countersue them and kick them out of the band because they didn't have enough votes to do it.
Dude, what?
It's like, dude, you guys are in your 60s and you're making millions of dollars on the road. Just shut up and play.
What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? So now they can never tour together again. So the 2 guys that are left and the lead singer are in it, but the other 2 guys who have been there since the 70s can't tour anymore because they tried to make a little bit more money.
Great. Now none of you get anything. Great. Yeah, great job.
Ridiculous.
Play your instruments, man.
Just go and make your money. You're harvesting. You don't even have to write new songs.
You
wrote all these songs 30 years ago.
How about this? I bet you don't even have to tour.
No, they do. They have to tour.
But not outside of America.
No.
If they didn't want to.
No, I don't think that America.
Oh, we got to do our tours here. No, you don't. Just don't do them.
Yeah.
Simply don't do them.
Just play a bunch of casinos, hour-long sets, boom, done.
Do
You're
smaller venue. Yeah.
Anyway, Jesse, sorry.
Final 2 things. You guys know the Golden Bachelor's going on?
Yes.
We have heard of the Golden Bachelor.
It's from Whit Scott. They wanted us to do Bachelor bios on the Golden Bachelor. We're not going to do that, but do you have any thoughts on the Golden Bachelor?
Yeah, it's weird.
Do you think it's weird?
I don't mind that. I think there's lots of people in that age group who are single and like divorced or whatever. Or do your thing.
No, it's not that an older person wants love. That's not weird. That is perfectly normal and human. It's just the regular version of the show, the non-golden version of the show, is weird.
Oh, but the whole concept is
So
weird. I
now-
think we already passed that, though.
Like, the Golden Bachelor is a better name than what the show actually is. The Bachelor, but old. That's what the show is.
Well, they put a G in front of it. The Bachelor, but gold.
Like, they were sitting there and like, okay, how do we do another spinoff of this? And someone went, I got it.
Well, okay.
Bachelor, but old.
Who's still watching cable?
The olds.
That's right. So they wanted somebody that they could identify with. It's actually genius. It's genius.
Oh, I know.
Absolutely
The Masked.
brilliant.
Oh, man. Just wait. The Masked Singer, but old.
Have you seen that? What's the David Spade show called? I think it's called like Snake Oil.
David Spade, but old.
Yeah, they run that commercial during football
Drew,
like
you watch
24/7.
Is
Snake
it-
Oil?
Drew, no.
That game is great.
Drew, are your TV takes
Snake
as bad
Oil
as
is
your
great.
food takes?
Yeah.
You do.
Oh, you do?
Bachelor's good.
So there, I think the season finale is coming up in 2 weeks.
And they're all his age.
End of
too,
November.
right?
Yeah,
Like
they're all
20-year-olds.
on the same.
Dude, you know what's weird about The Bachelor?
What?
Seeing all these people. No, they're all like 22. I just want to get married. Like, why? You're 22.
That's definitely what I thought the idea behind the show was, and I'm like, that's fucking strange.
Yeah, no, they.
So yeah, the season finale I think is coming up at the end of November. Maybe we'll check in and see who won. Maybe that'll be fun. We'll do that at the end of a show.
Who won gold?
Last thing, right now you can go listen to an episode of Agent Provocateur. It is out on all of your favorite podcast app and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SDPN. Adam Wilde, do you want to talk a little about the episode of Agent Provocateur that you recorded with Adam Wilde on over the weekend that is released today?
It's the best I've ever heard Alan. Period. It's just me and him. No guest. And so we were talking about, we took listener questions, which, some video submissions made it in. We talked about NHL franchise values exploding. We talked about jobs being lost because the cap's been the same. And you've mentioned this too. And nobody can ice a full roster. What Alan thinks about the NHL in Europe, and specifically, you get some real, actual understanding and knowledge about the World Championships that haven't happened. Or the World Cup, excuse me, and the Olympics and what's going to be used there. And I think that those are, Jesse, you listened to the whole thing, but I think those, for me, understanding where we're at with those negotiations and why things haven't progressed. Because I'm like, listen, it's only like 16, 17 months away that we're supposed to be doing a World Cup. Why haven't we heard anything? It's not that long, right? Like we're not far.
No.
So what's going on? And Alan really shed some amazing light on it. Stuff I've just never heard him like that. He was great.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's an excellent show.
Way to sell the hell out
Top
of
to
that
tail, as they say in the biz. Yeah. Hey, so tomorrow we're doing another episode.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And then Sweden. Yeah.
Sweden.
Oh yeah. So we're Monday, Tuesday, Saturday this week.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm making them record nice and early on Saturday.
Perfect. Great. Thanks.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.